So welcome everyone again to the Free Big Podcast. Today we have with us Kevin Baragona, founder and CEO of DeepAI.org. Kevin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. It's really great to be here.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about you? Like how did you got involved with technology originally? How did you get involved with AI?
Of course. So as a kid, I was always, like many, I was kind of obsessed with technology. I loved electronics and programming. So I was actually a professional software engineer for about 8 to 10 years before I started the company DeepAI. And I started the company in 2017, really because the prior year, 2016, I saw academic results from a field called deep learning that was making great progress. And I was particularly interested in the creative and artistic applications of AI. I thought that this would be a huge deal and to expand people's creativity and help us imagine things in entirely new ways. And it was pretty early back then, but I would say now that's sort of happened. I think I've seen the creative use cases of AI really take off for the whole world in a really big way this last maybe 2 years.
I'm curious because most people know about generative AI after DALL-E or DALL-E 2. They made a big splash. What were those early results in deep learning that you found about? Well, I mean, in 2016,
That's right.
I remember people working in classification, people working on adversarial networks like GANs and all of that. What was that catch your attention?
So in many ways, it's similar to what we have now. In 2016, I saw the world's first text-to-image model. It used a technique called LSTM plus to GAN, and you could generate some really bad-looking images from text. But it did kind of work. Another big one that I remember was a neural net that you could take a black and white photo and convert it to color. And back then, that was incredibly impressive. But you could generate text at the same time. There was this project called Char RNN that was popular at the time. So it was much like today, you could generate any of these modalities, like text, image, and audio. It all still worked. It just wasn't nearly as good. The quality was not ready for everyday people to use like it is today. It was the same thing, but a lot smaller and weaker.
Okay, so I think that many people can relate today. Certainly the quality is good enough for many tasks, but it is still not good enough for some others. They're still lagging in some respects. So many people may be interested in how did you got involved with technology that was not yet mature. So you were talking 2016, 2017. How did you got involved? What were your first steps?
So jogging my memory, back then, just getting the technology to work at all was a big challenge. There was no website where you could go and actually try these tools. It literally didn't exist. So that was the first thing we created, was the DeepAI.org website, which is a collection of AI demos, effectively. One of them was a text-to-image. I believe we were actually the first company to ever offer a text-to-image demo. So the step one was just make something that works. It wasn't so simple you run a few commands to get it working like it is now. It was a lot more involved just to get anything working.
Okay. And on DeepAI, what from an outsider, what I saw, what the website is that it's really frictionless.
Frictionless.
Yeah. So Recently, OpenAI launched a feature where you can use ChatGPT without login, but in your site, you can experience something like that before OpenAI did that.
That's right.
So, I mean, what other things do you perceive as an edge on your product? So you have that is really frictionless. Is that what you focus on? Are there other things? Talk to us a little bit about the whole DeepAI.
So we're a platform of consumer AI tools. We've got chat, image generators, and now video. And frictionless is the way we do everything. It's sort of like, to be frictionless is more of removing what doesn't need to be there, versus instead of adding something in particular, it's actually removing away. It's like our products are not very complicated.
Mm-hmm.
They just work well and they work instantly. We try to avoid blocking any users. Like, a lot of websites will like put you behind Cloudflare or a CAPTCHA or make you log in. Things that like slow you down or even block users before you can use the product. We just make something that works really quickly and really easily. So frictionless is the name of the game. But we also do care a lot about quality. We try to make our quality as high as it can be.
Mm-hmm. How do you do that? How have you been improving the quality? I mean, you mentioned that DeepAI, it's a collection of consumer tools. So how much of this collection have been developed in-house versus using third-party APIs or tools?
So we used to develop a lot in-house prior to around like late 22.
Mm-hmm.
The models became more expensive to develop. So we, like pretty much everyone else in the generative AI boom, started to rely on stability AI and often OpenAI for the chat. We still train models in certain areas or we fine tune. But in general, we no longer feel like we need to train every model. We care more about what model will make our users the happiest. And we look at a variety of factors like cost and quality and speed.
How do you measure that? How do you measure what makes customers happy? Like we are kind of, we have the same problem. Okay, we want to make products that make customers happy. And in general, we have a blending of short-term KPIs and long-term KPIs. So in our case, for example, we look at how many people use the image that they generate and what is the retention of those people. How do you measure on DeepAI if you are delivering a good service or no? And also, please, can you share some details about how much traffic your site has, how many generations you are, so that people understand the dimensions of the business?
As far as customer happiness, in general, we look at like user feedback. Users email us all the time on what they like or what they don't like. That's one of the biggest ones. Other metrics are how many people are willing to pay for the premium version. Typically, they're only willing to pay if they really like the free version. And then we generally just try to build something that we like ourselves. Like if we like our own product, we use our own product all the time. That's, in general, we find to be the best way to build something that other people like. Is first you must like your own product. So that's what I try to do. So it's nothing too complicated. We look at some metrics and we decide, do we like our own product? It seems to be going well. This last complete month of March 24, we reached about 10 million monthly active. has been growing by maybe 10% to 20% a month for the last year or so.
Wow.
It's going well. And as far as number of generations, I don't actually know how many images we generate each day, but it's probably anywhere from 300,000 to 1 million a day images, something like that.
Wow, it's very impressive. And what's the volume for text? Because, I mean, is it more important, is less important than images?
Well, with text, it's somewhere between 1 and 2 million messages per day. Messages people are typing into the box. And I don't know if one is more important or less important. Like they're both important, but the chat is more of a work tool. And image generators and video generators are more of a fun tool. Like text is more for work, images are more for fun or for art.
So do you have better conversion on text than on images, or?
They're kind of about the same.
Okay.
Actually, surprisingly, they're about the same.
Okay. And how do you see the company going forward? Like, do you plan to add more tools? Do you want to integrate them? What are your plans?
Yeah, the product is basically going to look more or less how it does today, but better in every direction. Like with chat, the chat will answer faster. It'll have smarter responses. It'll have more integrations into other products. Like it'll be able to solve math problems. It'll be able to write and integrate with various coding tools like Replit. The image, the quality gets better and better every month. The speed of generation gets up. We also lower prices periodically when we can. And the video generator is going to get better as well. So right now, video is sort of probably in the demo phase or the toy era. But video will be kind of like production ready for real use cases. You'll be able to generate really high quality videos and potentially use them in places where you'd normally use stock footage. So basically sort of what happened for images is going to happen to video next.
Video and probably audio also, right? We also places like
audio. Yeah. So that brings up to the next point is our products are all going to be integrated together. So if you generate an image, you click a button today and it turns it into a video. But that video will be able to come with audio too. You'll be able to take any form of media and convert it or pair it with any other form of media. So you can go in any direction you want. You can go text to image, image to text, video to audio.
And is your plan to allow users to create multiple slices of video? Yeah. Or are you thinking of just one shot? I mean, to me, at least, as an outsider, video is complex on the technological side, but it's also complex on UI. Like,
it is. How
do you give people enough control over the generated video? It's difficult enough for an image. The experience that we have is with sketch to image that gives you a lot of control. But with video, like every single detail can be animated in multiple ways. So how do you explain how you want to animate things?
So I don't know what our finished video UI will look like yet, because it's going to be probably a long-term feature that takes years to build. But you're right that it's kind of complex. How do you offer that to the user in a simple way? But this is kind of a good problem to have because it means that there's a lot of things to build. There's a lot of things to try. And I always felt that means it's a good place to be building. So the short answer is I don't know, but we're going to probably test a lot of different things.
Have you been following the latest news about stability? So you probably know that they have some difficult times now. what I mean, how can this affect all the companies that depend on stable diffusion? And I don't know to what extent this is the case with DeepAI. So tell us, I mean, a little bit about who is your provider. Are you using a stable diffusion? And what do you think can happen in the industry if they go bankrupt?
So we use like over 10 different vendors. Stability is one of them. I don't think it'll matter that much long term. So Stability was all about creating like open source AI, or at least partially open source. And this is something that people want to exist. There's a lot of rich people in the world, and they're willing to fund projects like this.
Mm-hmm.
So Stability, it never like made a very good profit as a company. It made decent revenue, at least 10 million a year. In all likelihood, there will be someone who replaces Stability long term. I don't know. So in the short term, it may slow down open source AI a little bit, but the movement is not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Something that can derail current efforts to do AI is the new legislation that is being drafted. Okay. So, and this is an open question. We don't know what will happen, but there's a possibility that it will, people will consider that using images, using text to train those models is not fair use. How do you think that the industry can adapt to a change like that?
Personally, I think it'd be better if it were not fair use. Like, I think it's okay if the AI industry gets slowed down a little bit. The pace of progress is going to continue one way or another. So I think it's completely okay and even a good thing to ensure music rights are protected, artists' rights are protected, and even producers of text like books or newspapers. It may slow down or cause a lot of problems for a lot of AI companies, but there's an easy solution, which is just train on licensed data. The short version is a giant mess for governments and industry, but it's all going to be okay, I think, in the end.
But, okay, I think it's...
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's slightly more difficult than just training on licensed data because on images, what I see is that this is feasible. Okay, we are ourselves like licensing images for trainings to third parties, but on text, I find it very difficult because it's so distributed. There is not a single entity that owns vast quantities of text. So you want to make sure that you only train on text with a known copyright that that you are allowed. Then I think this will kill LLMs.
Well, let's say LLMs got killed. Life will go on.
Yeah, I mean,
Life
we
will go
all
on.
absolutely we only had them for a couple of years. Okay, but people get used very quickly to new things.
It's gonna be okay either way. It's gonna be okay.
Either way, yeah, we will survive as a species. But do you think this will be good? Like wiping out LLMs? I think it will be the first time, at least that I can think of, where there was a technology that people found useful, but we decided to don't pursue.
Well, yeah. Even if training on text became illegal, like very illegal overnight, hypothetically, there's open source LLMs on the internet. They're going to be very hard to take down. So on a practical level, I don't think they're going anywhere. Just like on a practical level, I don't think you can take Stable Diffusion down. The cat is very, very out of the bag. That doesn't mean that you should be able to run a company that profits on them. That's something else entirely.
We will see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, you may think I've run an AI company. You think that I should be in favor of training on any type of data I want, but that's actually not the case at all. I believe people's rights should be protected. And if I have to change what models we use or what we can train on, I'd be happy to. It's just business.
Or stop using them at all, the LLM models.
Yeah.
Have you seen like the AI Act that the European Union has been drafting? I mean, they have even enacted it.
I've seen it. I'm not very educated on the specifics at this point, but I know it's pretty broad. What are your thoughts on the AI Act?
Well, my thoughts on it is that it's a bit too early. They actually had to change the first draft because of ChatGPT, because it came out. So that's usually a signal that the law probably will not be well adapted to the reality that we will have in a couple of years. Okay. And I think it's early legislation. Okay. My opinion is that AI will bring plenty of good things. They will bring plenty of improvements, and it comes with a set of issues or difficulties. But if we try to stop it, I think the consequence will be worse than going with AI. It's a little bit like I'm of the opinion that nuclear was a good technology that was kind of stopped by legislation. It became, way too expensive and difficult because of legislation. And I think it was a missed opportunity to have almost free energy for the world. And many people suffer because of that. So I think that sometimes we take a decision because we want to go slower, but we need to understand that this also has some trade-offs. Okay, there's people that benefit from moving forward with progress.
So I tend to be somewhere in the middle. Like, I think both sides have really good points to make. I fall somewhere in the middle. They're not really easy decisions to make, so I try to remain open-minded to whatever happens, but my current feeling is there's so much innovation in the world these last few years. There's so much technology innovation that we're not held back as a world because we don't have enough innovation right now. In fact, we probably don't have enough stability in the world. So, like, do you want more innovation in the world, or do you want more stability? That's what I ask myself when I ask these questions. And personally, right now, I would say I would want a little more stability. And I would accept less innovation.
Yeah, on my side, I think I'm definitely in the camp of more innovation. So in my case, I guess I don't understand what stability gives us as a society, while I understand quite well what innovation gave us. So the way I see it, we have here like one or the most important advancement in technology in the past, in a very long time. And every time we have a breakthrough, there are some challenges, and there are people definitely that get hurt, okay, and get like the short stick out of it, okay. So when printers, when Gutenberg invented the printer originally, I think it was kind of difficult to see the consequences of this invention, right? Because at the time, what it allowed you was to make books cheaper. Like a book used to cost like a small house, roughly. Again, the printer made books cheaper, but it also took away the works of monks who were artists working on it. Okay, so there was a downside to that. But as a society, long term, I think everybody will agree that we got much better because of this invention. Okay, so we got not only cheaper books, but newspapers and cheap diffusion of information, and it really power us to do more as a society. And with more inventions, we have been able to have fewer people that have famine, fewer people that are energy hungry. In general, how I see it is we have been better societies. We are getting richer. We are getting people with less poverty. And this is, I think, it's a really important step on that journey, on getting better at things that matter. So to me, I'm more on the innovation camp, having more stability. I mean, maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that. What do you think it will give us as a society?
Reduce risk of like global catastrophe, major wars. I think AI could have a lot of disruptions even in our society. Like artists are getting very impacted by generative art. And it's a really tough question. But if I have to take a look at like the whole world and what is happening in the world right now, I would say innovation is winning. We are highly innovative as a planet. If you compare where we are today to where we were 10 years ago, incredible progress. I'm very satisfied with our rate of progress. I'm not very satisfied with maybe the state of the human world, like governments.
I mean, this is a super. I mean, we are deviating away clearly from core technology, but I find it very interesting. And this podcast is so that we can talk about whatever we want. So,
yeah.
The way I see it, like my perception of AI and in general technology is that when it starts, first of all, it looks like it's impossible that it's going to be able to do something that we do. Then it starts doing it badly. Then it becomes pretty good. And you think that anyway, it will never be as good as the best human. Then it becomes as good as the best human. And then it becomes much better. So you go from, it's impossible that the AI will do this, to, oh shit, actually it's doing it, to, oh, it's impossible for a human to do it as well as AI. Okay, that's usually the pattern. And we saw that. We saw that with chess, we saw that with Go, we saw that, and now with creating images, creating and writing text. Okay, so we are going through these stages. And every time we adapt, I don't know if our capability to adapt is unlimited, okay? But how I see it, it was a few centuries ago, even a few decades ago, it was very natural. It was very important for humans, people that work in math, for example, to do arithmetic. Okay, we just spent a long time like doing multiplications, divisions, logarithms, etc. It was part of your education as a mathematician to do that. And then we got calculators. Okay, and you can argue that being able to do calculus, to do arithmetic, it was something unique to humans. Okay, just like today AI is taking things that are unique to humans. And when calculators started doing that, they did it better than us. So it stopped being so useful. It's still kind of useful. You kind of need to know how to do it. So, so that you can do quickly some math without going to a calculator, but you don't need it as much as before. And I think the same thing can happen with a designer that needs to draw. Probably it will be good if they know how to draw a little bit, but it will be, I think their more important skills will be elsewhere. It will be having a critical eye. It will be understanding the customer. It will be understanding what kind of design will go well in which place. It's more of a curator. And I think in general, we will see people that write, they will adapt their skills to the new reality, where a lot of the time that they spend writing, it's now wasted because a computer will be able to do that, and they need to apply their skills on the edge of that. So, my take is that I think it's impossible to fight against progress. I never seen progress going backwards. I never seen the world learning a new way to do something that requires less time from us, and us as humans refusing to take it.
I think you're absolutely right. Like, progress and innovation will win. There's no question about it. I think it's just a matter of how quickly.
And you don't feel very good about it, or?
The pace of progress in the world is, the truth is, slightly disturbing to me right now. So every year we see exponential progress in how capable and smart AI is. And I think it's only getting started.
Yeah.
Whereas humans are the same as they've been for 10,000 years. We're not changing. So the humans are not changing, but the quality and quantity of AI are both exponentially increasing. So it seems extremely likely we will get AI that is smarter than people at just about anything. But also, there's going to be probably very little that a human can do that an AI cannot equally do. Very little.
I agree. Like, if you think about calculators, when you introduce them, some mathematician may say, oh, I think that very soon calculators, because now they only do additions and subtractions, but very soon you will have calculators that also do multiplications and exponentials and all of it. And very soon they will be better at any kind of calculations than humans. And that was absolutely right. Okay. And nevertheless, we adapted.
But
You're
that's
right.
an argument looking backward. You're looking backward in time.
I'm trying to understand what is going to happen forward in time. I'm trying to think of other disruptions that happened in the past, and how people were thinking about those disruptions at the time and how it turned out. Okay, which I don't know if it will be the case this time. Okay, I agree with you. Like, to me, my biggest fear is that there is nothing that we can do that is actually better than what a machine can do. Okay? When I think about it, I try to think on first principles. And I try to think, what is the difference between human intelligence, or humans in general, and machine intelligence, artificial intelligence? I think there are a few fundamental differences that will stay. I don't know if you agree, but one of them is that I cannot share with you my experiences. So everything that built my brain, which was probably conditioned by who I am when I was born, like combination of genetic combinations of my parents, together with absolutely all the experiences that I had all my life that shape who I am. Okay, so my difficulty to learn English, my difficulties to being from a small town, finding information, getting into computers, everything that I experience as a human is something that I can talk a little bit to others. The difficulties to reach socially to other people. My strengths and my weaknesses is something that they can talk about, but I cannot just pick my brain and give it to you so that you 100% are like me, okay? But computers can do that. Computers can transfer absolutely everything. Again, we cannot. So I think that's a fundamental distinction in a way that artificial intelligence, it will maybe be more homogeneous. In a way, it will be probably more eternal. As long as we want to keep it alive, we will be able to keep it alive, while we cannot. Okay, we are very unique, each one of us, because our whole experiences are secluded in kind of us. So I think that there will be fundamental differences that will stay there even if AI becomes smarter than us.
I think there might be ways that humans in the future could share deep emotions in a way we cannot today, and perhaps even share them or exchange them with machines.
Deep emotions, you mean? I don't think there will be any way to share absolutely everything that happened to you to the smallest detail, absolutely everything that shaped all your brain connections. I don't think there will be ever, at least in the short, medium term, there will.
Maybe in 1,000 years.
No, I don't think so. I don't think maybe we find out a way and then it blurs the line a little bit between humans and machines. But I think this is quite a solid barrier. I think this is a distinction between one and the other. And what I'm looking for in the future is not so much having an edge over computers, it's having distinctions. Yeah. So maybe that will be better. And that's, I'm okay with machines playing chess better than me. I'm okay with machines doing arithmetic better than me. And I'm also okay with machines actually finding solutions to theorems better than me. Okay. In a way, what I want is to react to the world where I live based on the past experiences that I had. And I don't think that this can be taken away. But
very deep. Well,
DeepAI, man, you put it on your name.
Well, when I first got into AI in 2017, it was more like, this is a cool thing. I wonder if we can make this work. And it's like the feeling, the mood has changed over time to wow, this is a big deal, and controls the direction of the future of the world. It got a lot more serious over time. And I kind of feel like it's going to continue to get more serious.
I agree.
It's not a toy. It's going to get very serious.
I mentioned a couple of times, I know a guy, Javier Ideami. He went to a talk by Mr. Sapolsky, which is a primatologist in, I don't remember if it was the MIT or Princeton, or I don't remember what it was. And after a speech of 2 hours, which was passionate, it was fantastic, super exciting. It's on YouTube. This guy raised his hand, Javier, and asked a question, which is, what is the difference between humans and gorillas? And then he says, the answer is fascinating because it gets to the kernel of what we can expect from AI. So he said, gorillas and humans, they share 99% of the DNA. Okay, this thing, it was a myth from the 80s, but it turns out that it was a myth, that it was real. Okay, we actually shared 99%. And when you look at the differences, this 1% that changes. So there is half of it is for the smell, which is very different between humans and gorillas. The smell, the sense of smell, being able to smell. Then there is another chunk that goes for a hip, which is very different. Okay, and there is a small chunk that goes to the future, and there is and you can explain all these 1% just looking at trivial changes between humans and gorillas. And then there is a tiny change that is very localized, that is a difference in the brain. And the difference is that when we are fetus, humans have a mutation that makes our brain 3 times bigger. Okay? And this is it. There is no other change between humans and gorillas. So if our brain is substantially the same, but there's just a difference in size, okay, the philosophical consequences of that, they're pretty deep in my opinion. It means that we are not that different from animals. We are not like qualitatively something completely different. And therefore we can think, is it okay that we eat other animals, or ethically it is actually like killing people to eat them? But, are we sentient entities and they are not? Or being sentient is kind of a qualitative property, and we can be a little bit more, a little bit less, okay? And with AI, coming to AI, probably, this paper from Google that is the bitter lesson, which is that they realized that all the progress on AI was actually correlated with progress on hardware. Okay, so more hardware enables different algorithms sometimes, but it is what helps AI become better. So if AI is becoming better because it's becoming bigger, and we have this example from gorillas versus humans being different because of the size of the brain, I think it's inevitable that AI will eventually become probably much better than us at any task that we throw at it. Okay, so again, my point of view, there is some fear in me that we may become, in a way, not the future, that it will be machines. But I think there will be a place for us as long as we stay like unique, each one of us.
I would have to agree with basically everything you just said. Other than it makes the future very hard to imagine what the future really holds. Almost unimaginable.
Well, I guess we'll find out in a few years.
Yeah.
It seems to be getting closer than we expected. This was like maybe in 100 years. Now it's like, well,
maybe 10.
Yeah, maybe 10. Let's wait for next decade. Okay, Kevin, it was an absolute pleasure to have you here. Okay.
Likewise.
Congratulations on your project.
Thank you.
And happy to host you anytime. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.